remember the first time she asked to dye her hair. It was a Tuesday, a regular, forgettable Tuesday, like the kind you don't expect to remember. But I will remember that one for the rest of my life. We were in the car, coming back from Trader Joe's. She had her earbuds in, as usual, and was scrolling through something on her phone. I was halfway through telling her a funny story about a coworker who had accidentally sent a Slack message to the entire department instead of just to HR. Classic Susan. No reaction from the passenger seat. Silence. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, "Mom, I want to dye my hair purple." I blinked. "Excuse me." She pulled one earbud out. Casually, I said, "I want to dye my hair. Like lavender purple, pastel. Kinda like Billie Eilish when she had the green tips, but cooler." I remember laughing nervously. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. That was the moment. The exact moment I realized I didn't recognize my daughter anymore. But before we dive into this thrilling story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit like so that YouTube can show you more content like this. Her name is Emily. She's 15 now, but in my head, she's still 7, wearing that yellow raincoat with the duck buttons, skipping beside me on the way to school, talking nonstop about her favorite stuffed animal, Mr. Pickles. That version of her feels like it was 5 minutes ago. Now she has a nose piercing. Her closet looks like a thrift store exploded inside it. Oversized jeans, crop tops with band names I've never heard of, combat boots in 3 colors. She uses words like vibe and gaslight and says things like, "That's such a mom thing to say," whenever I offer any opinion at all. And I know what the psychologists say. I've read the articles. Adolescence is a phase of identity exploration. The prefrontal cortex is still developing. They're pushing boundaries, trying on new selves like costumes. But knowing it doesn't stop the ache in my chest. It doesn't prepare you for the tiny heartbreaks. The slow, quiet grief of watching your little girl disappear and not being sure who's taking her place. Last month, she came home from the mall with a group of friends I'd never met. One of them, a tall girl with bright blue eyebrows and a safety pin in her ear, called me Miss E, like I was a cafeteria lady. They all giggled when Emily said, "This is my mom. She's cool, I guess." Cool, I guess. I laughed. But later that night, I cried in the bathroom, quietly, with the shower running, so no one would hear. I miss her, the old her, the one who held my hand without thinking twice, the one who begged me to braid her hair before school and made friendship bracelets for her teachers, the one who used to write me little notes on Post-its and leave them on my pillow. "You are the best mom ever," with a smiley face and a rainbow sticker. I know, I sound dramatic, but there's a name for this. Psychologists call it symbolic loss. It's the emotional experience of losing someone who's still physically here, and it's real. I didn't expect to grieve my own child. Of course. There's also the guilt, the crushing, endless guilt. Am I being too controlling? Am I not being controlling enough? Should I have said yes to the piercing? Should I have said no? Is she pulling away because I'm not listening? Or because I am listening too much? Last week, I found a TikTok on her phone. She was lip-syncing to a breakup song in front of the mirror, captioned, "Just me, pretending to be okay." It had almost 400 likes. Strangers commenting same and mood. I didn't even know she was not okay. How did I miss that? I asked her about it, gently. She rolled her eyes. "It's a trend, Mom. It doesn't mean anything. Stop overthinking everything." I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't sleep that night. There's this pressure, especially on moms, to be everything all the time, to be understanding, but firm, present, but not overbearing, to give space, but also hold on. And when you screw it up, which you inevitably do, there's this voice in your head whispering, "You're losing her. You're losing her." And you don't know how to stop it. The truth is, I don't want to stop her from becoming whoever she's becoming. I just wish I could be invited along for the ride. Some days, I get glimpses of the old Emily, like when she crawled into my bed last month after a nightmare, or when she asked me to help her with her math homework, muttering, "You explain it better than Mr. Jensen." I held on to that moment like a life raft. I don't have a happy ending to this story yet. I'm still in the middle of it, still trying to figure out how to be a mom to a teenager when my heart is still clinging to the child she used to be, still learning how to breathe through the changes without taking them personally. Still trying to show up, not for who she was, but for who she's becoming. Because the truth is, she is still here, just changing, evolving, rewriting her story, and maybe, just maybe, I'm supposed to rewrite mine too. One lavender strand at a time. There's something no one tells you about raising a teenager. No book, no podcast, no late-night mom blog. It's not just the hormones or the attitude or the ever-expanding list of things you apparently don't understand. It's the silence, the sudden silence. I used to know everything. I knew what she ate, what she dreamed, who she had a crush on in 3rd grade. Lucas, the one with the crooked glasses. I knew when she was faking a stomachache to skip school. And I knew her favorite cereal was still Honey Nut Cheerios, even after she insisted she liked adult cereal. Now she tells me she's fine, and I have to decode what level of emotional catastrophe that might represent. Last Saturday, I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard her come downstairs. She didn't say good morning. She went straight to the fridge, grabbed almond milk, which she recently insists is the only milk she'll drink now, and poured it into a protein smoothie powder I didn't even know we had. She was wearing a crop top that said, "You wouldn't understand." I stared at the back of her head and tried to feel included. "You want a bagel?" I asked, trying for casual. "No thanks," she mumbled, not looking at me. "I'm not eating bread right now." Bread. We're not eating bread now. She left her empty cup in the sink and disappeared into her room. 5 years ago, she used to sit at the kitchen island in her pajamas, swinging her legs and asking me things like, "Do you think giraffes get dizzy?" Now she just leaves. The hardest part isn't the silence. It's not knowing what's behind it. I wanted to follow her, ask her what she was feeling, ask her what changed, ask her to explain why every pair of jeans she owns has holes big enough to crawl through, and why she doesn't talk to Megan anymore, even though Megan practically lived at our house 2 summers ago. But I didn't. I just stood there, bagel in hand, and reminded myself, pick your battles. Later that afternoon, I called Rachel, my best friend since college, and a fellow veteran in the trenches of adolescence. Her son is 16. We've turned venting into a sacred ritual. I put her on speakerphone while I folded laundry. "She said she's not eating bread, Rach," I said, shaking out one of Emily's oversized black hoodies that looked suspiciously unwashed. "I watched her eat 3 pancakes with syrup 2 weeks ago." Rachel sighed. "Olivia hasn't eaten a proper dinner in 4 days. She had popcorn and a Celsius for lunch yesterday. You're not alone." We both laughed. The tired kind of laugh. But still, "You know what it is," I continued. It's like mourning someone who's still alive. I look at her and I see pieces of my daughter, but the rest is just static," Rachel offered. "Yes, that's it. Like she's tuning to a different frequency, and I don't have the right radio anymore." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "That's good," she said. "Painful, but good." That night, I couldn't sleep again. I sat in bed with my laptop and Googled, "Teenage girls pulling away from moms. How to connect with your teenage daughter. Is this normal, or am I failing as a parent?" I found an article by a family therapist, Dr. Dana something. She wrote that the teenage years are a time when kids must emotionally separate from their parents in order to build their own identities, that pushing you away is a developmental task, that it's not personal, that the more secure the bond, the more confidently they pull away, trusting they can return. I sat there rereading that paragraph 3 times. Pushing away is a sign of safety, I whispered to myself, but it didn't feel like safety. It felt like rejection. The next morning, things came to a head. Emily and I were supposed to go shopping for a dress. She had a semi-formal school dance coming up. Part of me had been looking forward to it, a flicker of old tradition. Like maybe we'd go back to the days of trying on shoes together, laughing in dressing rooms, picking out nail polish colors. She came down the stairs in silence again, wearing a hoodie and headphones. "Ready?" I said, keys in hand. She paused. "Actually, I don't think I want a dress." I blinked. "But it's a formal dance, my sweetie." "Yeah, but I don't want to wear a dress. I'm thinking like pants and a mesh top, or maybe something androgynous." "Mesh?" I repeated, trying to stay calm. Her expression hardened. "You always do this. I'm telling you what I want, and you're already judging me." "I'm not judging you," I said, voice already too tight. Mesh doesn't sound appropriate. For school. She rolled her eyes, and I could see it coming. The wave. God, why can't you just let me be myself? It's not your body, Mom. I swallowed. Deep breath. Okay, you're right. It's not my body, but I'm still your mother. She crossed her arms. Barely feels like it. That one hit harder than she'll ever know. She turned and walked back up the stairs. The door slammed. I stood there, hand still clutching the car keys, heart pounding in my chest. It was the first time I actually sat on the kitchen floor and cried. Not quietly, not with the shower running. Just me on the tile, sobbing into a hand towel because the person I raised, the person I knew so deeply, no longer seemed to see me either. Later that evening, I got a text from her. Just one word. Sorry. I didn't reply right away. I needed a minute. I needed to forgive myself before I could accept her apology. I needed to remind myself that all of this, was part of growing, both hers and mine. That night, when she came downstairs for water, we didn't say much, but she handed me her phone and showed me a photo of a black jumpsuit. It's not mesh, she said quietly. Would this be okay for the dance? I nodded. It's actually really cool. She shrugged. Thought so too. It wasn't a full bridge, but maybe a rope, maybe a thread. I'll take it. There's a photo on our fridge I can't bring myself to take down. It's faded now, edges curled, half covered by a takeout menu, and a magnet that says, "Nevertheless," she persisted. Emily is in it, around 6 years old, wearing fairy wings over her pajamas and clutching a bowl of popcorn almost bigger than her head. Her face is tilted upward, eyes wide, pure joy. We were watching Finding Nemo. I remember because she'd cried when the fish got lost and whispered, "I'd never let you get lost, Mommy." I stared at that photo last Thursday. Just stared. I had come downstairs early, around 6 in the morning, unable to sleep again. The house was quiet. Still, even the cat didn't bother me. And I stood in the kitchen, wrapped in my robe, staring at the girl in the picture and wondering where she went. More than once, I've thought, what if I've already had the best parts of motherhood? It's a terrifying thought, but honest. That day, I had a meeting at Emily's school, a regular parent check-in with her guidance counselor, Ms. B. Burke. I'd been dreading it for weeks. Not because I didn't care. Quite the opposite. I cared too much. I was terrified to sit across from a stranger and hear things I might not be ready to face. To be told that my daughter was slipping, that something was wrong, and that I hadn't seen it. The counselor's office was smaller than I expected. Warm, though, not clinical. There was a small salt lamp in the corner and a worn rug under the desk. Books everywhere. Plants. A box of tissues that felt like a warning. Ms. Burke smiled when I sat down. "Thank you for coming, Mrs. Hart." "Call me Lucy," I said, out of habit. She nodded. "I just wanted to check in. Emily's doing well academically, all things considered. A little distracted in class, but nothing abnormal. No behavioral red flags." I blinked. "Really?" She smiled again. "Really?" There was a silence. I must have looked unconvinced, because she tilted her head kindly. "Can I ask how you think Emily is doing?" I hesitated. "Honestly, I don't know. Some days I feel like I'm parenting a stranger, and other days I feel like I'm failing entirely." Ms. Burke didn't rush me. She waited. I continued. "She doesn't talk to me, at least, not like she used to. She's pulling away. Everything is about boundaries now. Privacy, style, identity. She's reinventing herself every week and I can't keep up." "That's part of the process," Mrs. Burke said gently. "Adolescents are shedding childhood. They're building who they are outside of their parents. It's messy and disorienting and for both sides. But it's not a rejection. It's a rebalancing. But how do I stay connected to her if she won't let me in?" She leaned back. "Let me tell you something I've seen over and over. Teenagers are watching their parents far more than they let on. They don't always want guidance in the way we think. They want to know we're there. That they can pull away and still return. That the anchor is steady." I stared at her. "You're doing better than you think, Lucy," she added. "Emily talks about you. Not in a roll your eyes kind of way. In a real way. She said once, 'My mom used to make the best pancakes. Like, from scratch. Not the box.'" Ms. Burke smiled. That tells me she remembers the warmth, that it matters. Something caught in my throat. Thank you, I managed. As I walked out of the office, I felt this strange, bittersweet ache. Like maybe, just maybe, all the love I'd poured in hadn't vanished. It was still in her. Somewhere beneath the eyeliner and sarcasm and chain necklaces, it was in there. That weekend, Emily came downstairs on Sunday around 10. Her hair was half up in a messy bun, dyed tips faded to a silvery lilac. She looked tired, but softer. I was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes. Her eyes widened. You're making them from scratch. I nodded, flipping one. Thought you might want one. Or 3. She hesitated. I'm not eating bread, remember? Right. Totally forgot. She leaned against the doorway. Quiet. I kept flipping pancakes. Then she said, I could eat half. I didn't smile. Not yet. I just handed her a plate and let her sit. We ate mostly in silence. She didn't go on her phone. She just ate. At one point, she looked at me. You remember when I dressed up as a pancake for Halloween? I laughed. You cried when I told you I couldn't find syrup-shaped earrings. I took it so seriously. You really did. And in that moment, there it was. Not a breakthrough, but a ripple. A moment of shared memory. Connection. We were both remembering the same girl. And maybe, in that space, both accepting who she was becoming. That afternoon, I found her in the living room watching a documentary about climate change. She was scribbling something in a notebook, eyes intense. You okay? I asked gently. She looked up. I'm thinking about starting a petition at school to reduce plastic waste in the cafeteria. They still use styrofoam trays. It's ridiculous. I blinked. Do you want help? I asked, carefully. She paused. Yeah, she said. I mean, if you're not busy, I'm never too busy for you, I said. She looked at me for a beat longer than usual. Then she handed me the notebook. It wasn't a bridge. It wasn't a thread. It was the beginning of a team. That night, I sat on the couch alone after she went to bed. I picked up her hoodie, the one with the weird skull design on it, and held it in my lap. She was still changing, still moody, still confusing, but she was there, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was losing her. I just felt like I was meeting her again, slowly, honestly, with my arms open wide enough to hold whoever she became, even if she never ate bread again. I used to be a person. That sounds dramatic, but it's the most honest sentence I can write. Before the pediatric appointments and the school forms, before dance recitals and carpool, and the slow, suffocating terror of raising a teenager in the age of Instagram, I had a name, and a favorite wine, and opinions about art that had nothing to do with glitter glue. I had plans. I was Lucy, not just Emily's mom. But somewhere between kindergarten and high school, my identity folded itself up like laundry and slipped into the back of the drawer. I didn't resent it, at least not at first. Loving someone so much you forget where you end and they begin. That's the gig, right? Until one day, you look in the mirror and the woman looking back at you is a stranger. She's tired, always behind, and vaguely sticky for no reason. Her dreams feel silly now. Her thoughts are interrupted before they finish forming, and even when she's alone, she's not. That woman is me, and she's waking up. The school sent out an email reminder about the annual curriculum and community night. I almost deleted it. The truth is, those nights are always a little awkward. Tables of parents trying to look engaged, teachers smiling like they'd rather be grading papers, folding chairs that scream budget cuts, and all of us, the parents, performing our roles, nodding politely, asking about syllabi, pretending we understand our kids' schedules, which are somehow more complicated than flight paths at LAX. But this year felt different. I went, not because I expected a breakthrough, but because I felt this quiet instinct. Pay attention. The auditorium was dimly lit and smelled faintly of gym socks and old books. I found my seat next to a mom I vaguely recognized. Denise? Deborah. Something with a D. She was sipping coffee out of a Stanley cup like we were at a soccer game. We made small talk until the principal finished his usual pep speech and dismissed us to walk the schedule. Emily's second period English teacher, Mr. Sanders, had a tiny classroom crammed with posters of Maya Angelou quotes and literary puns, potato chips, etc. I sat in a desk 2 sizes too small and listened as he outlined their reading list. The Outsiders, The Book Thief, Fahrenheit 451. These kids, he said, are learning to hold nuance, to see contradiction and not flinch. They're discovering that two things can be true at once. You can be strong and vulnerable, angry and loving, lost and searching. That's adolescence. He looked around the room. Some of your kids are quieter now. Some are louder. Some are dressing differently, acting out, pulling away. It's not a crisis. It's a signal. They're testing the shape of their edges. Something inside me cracked. He continued. One of my students, Emily Hart, wrote a poem last week about wanting to grow up and disappear at the same time, about being too big for childhood, but too invisible in the world of adults. It was raw and smart and weirdly funny. I won't read it aloud. I didn't ask her permission. But I just want you to know, your kids are becoming people. Let them. I swallowed so hard my throat burned. I wanted to stand up, shout, "That's my daughter. That's her. That's my girl." Instead, I sat there, stunned, because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel fear when someone described her complexity. I felt pride. That night, I went home and opened the notebook she used to keep on the coffee table, the one I wasn't supposed to touch. It had been there for weeks, ignored, but something about what Mr. Sanders said gave me permission, not to snoop, but to see. Inside were doodles, lyrics, clippings from magazines, a to-do list that said, 1. Survive, 2. Protest trays, 3. Ask Mom how she made that lemon pasta. I smiled, kept reading. Halfway through the notebook, on a page folded in half, I found a drawing. 2 figures standing at opposite ends of a bridge. The caption underneath read, "I still want to cross it. I just don't know how." I closed the notebook gently, heart thudding. She wasn't gone. She was just lost. Same as me. The next day, I did something I hadn't done in years. I signed up for a ceramics class at the community center. It was Wednesday nights, 2 hours. No kids allowed. I didn't tell Emily right away, not because I was hiding it, but because it felt like mine. The first class was messy, awkward. I ruined my first bowl and got clay under my nails. My fingers ached. I loved it. I loved the silence, the rhythm, the fact that no one needed me to explain anything. The instructor, Mara, was around my age, divorced, 2 teens. We got to talking. "I'm trying to figure out who I am again," I told her, wiping my hands. She nodded. "That's why I started this. After my son told me to stop tagging him on Facebook, I laughed. A real one. Deep. That weekend, Emily noticed the clay under my fingernails. "What's that?" she asked, casually. "Ceramics class," I said, flipping a page in my book. "You're doing pottery now?" "Yep." Pause. "That's actually kinda cool." That was it. No fanfare, but it landed like gold. Later that night, she knocked on my door. "I have an idea for that petition," she said. "You want to help me write an email to the principal?" I nodded. "Absolutely." We sat on the floor, side by side. No phones, no eye rolls, just us. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw all the versions of her layered into one. The fairy-winged pancake lover, the eye-rolling activist, the poet, the girl on the bridge. She was still becoming. So was I. It started with a phone call. I was in line at the post office, holding a padded envelope and scrolling through an article titled, "Parenting Through the Teen Years Without Losing Your Mind." Ironics, in retrospect, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Normally, I let those go to voicemail, but something told me to pick it up. "Hello? Hi, this is Nurse Peterson from Jefferson High School. Is this Emily Hart's mother?" My heart stuttered. I gripped the phone tighter. "Yes. Is she okay?" "She's not hurt. But we'd like you to come in." Emily had what seems like a panic episode during her 3rd period. "She's resting now, but we think it's best if she goes home." I don't remember driving. I don't remember grabbing my keys or telling the woman behind me in line to hold my place. All I remember is this hollow ringing in my ears, the kind that blocks out everything except your worst-case scenarios. Panic episode. Those weren't words I was ready to associate with my daughter. Not Emily, the girl who used to sing at the top of her lungs in the back seat, who once made an entire class laugh by reciting a poem about a potato named Greg. But then again, I hadn't really seen her lately. Not all of her. I arrived at the nurse's office and found her curled up on the cot, eyes red, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands like armor. She looked younger somehow, or maybe just more fragile than I remembered. When she saw me, she didn't speak, just stared. I sat next to her. "Hey," her lips trembled. "I'm fine. It wasn't a big deal. I'm not here to make it a big deal." She looked away. I waited. After a long silence, she said, "I couldn't breathe. In class, my hands were shaking. I thought I was going to pass out." I nodded slowly. "Have you felt that way before?" She hesitated. "Yeah. Sometimes. It's been happening more." The floor tilted a little under me. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. She shrugged. "I didn't want to worry you, and I didn't know if it was real." I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. "It's real," I said, "and I'd always rather know, even if it's messy, even if it's scary." We drove home in silence, and I kept my speed slower than usual. I wanted to bottle every minute, every breath, and I couldn't tell if it was out of maternal instinct or sheer panic. And if you are enjoying the story, help us out by subscribing to the channel and giving a like. Once home, she went straight to her room. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, one hand still holding my purse strap, the other covering my mouth. I didn't cry. Not then. I just felt stunned, like someone had shaken my life snow globe, and I was watching the glitter settle in new, terrifying shapes. Later that afternoon, I made chamomile tea. I didn't ask if she wanted any. I just brought it to her room and knocked. She was under the covers, phone on her chest, earbuds in. She pulled one out when she saw me. "I made you tea?" She sat up. "Thanks." I placed the mug on her nightstand and sat down beside her. "What's going on, Em?" I asked gently. "Really?" Her eyes filled again, but she didn't cry. "School's a lot. The stuff with the petition has been stressing me out more than I thought. And I don't know. I feel like I have to keep it together all the time. Be smart, be cool, be the person everyone expects, even you." That last part hit me like a slap wrapped in silk. "Me?" She nodded. "You're always so sure of everything. You do the right thing, say the right thing. You make pancakes from scratch. I don't want to disappoint you." I blinked. "Emily, I'm winging it 90% of the time. I cry in my car. I burn things in the oven. And I constantly wonder if I'm ruining your life." She laughed through her nose. "You're not." I smiled. "You're not disappointing me. Ever. You can be falling apart and still be my favorite person." She stared at me. "You mean that?" "With every part of me." That night, after she fell asleep early, her tea half finished, her phone forgotten, I sat in the living room, lights dim, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled like her when she was little. I opened my laptop and began researching therapists who specialized in adolescent anxiety. Not because she asked, not because I was trying to fix her, because she deserved support. Not just love, but tools. And because I finally understood. Protecting her doesn't mean sheltering her from everything hard. It means walking with her through it, even when I can't lead the way. The next week, she went to her first therapy session. She was nervous, twitchy in the car. "You don't have to say anything you're not ready to," I told her. "And you can stop anytime. You're in control." She nodded. "Thanks." I waited in the parking lot for 50 minutes, gripping a travel mug and watching raindrops slide down the windshield. It felt like I was waiting for something more than just time to pass, like I was watching her step into herself in real time. When she came out, she didn't say much, just got in the car and fastened her seatbelt. "I think it was good," she said after a while. She didn't ask weird questions. "That's great." Pause. "Can I go back next week?" I smiled, eyes stinging. "Of course." That weekend, we cleaned out her closet, not because I asked, but because she said she was done with some of the layers. She donated a stack of old hoodies and replaced them with fewer, but more intentional pieces. Still edgy, still entirely her, but less like armor. We talked while we folded clothes, about small things, a boy she didn't like, but kinda liked, a YouTuber she'd stopped following because he turned out to be problematic, a classmate who'd come out as non-binary and how Emily thought that was actually really brave. And then, out of nowhere, she said, "I liked that poem I wrote, the one about growing up and disappearing. I wish I could read it," I said gently. She paused. Maybe I'll show you sometime. I didn't push, just nodded. She's still figuring herself out. So am I. But for the first time, I feel like we're not on opposite sides of the bridge anymore. We're sitting on the middle rail, legs dangling, watching the water together. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, she lets her head rest on my shoulder. Just for a minute, just enough. It was my sister's idea to have the whole family over for Sunday lunch. We haven't done one in ages, Lauren said on the phone, full of her usual chirpy efficiency. And Mom misses seeing Emily. Everyone does. I almost said no. It wasn't because I didn't love my family. I did, in my own exhausted, boundary-practicing way. But the idea of parading Emily's shifting identity in front of my mother, my sister, and a half-dozen opinion-loaded relatives felt like walking a tightrope with no net. There would be comments. There would be looks. There would be well-meaning questions with the sharp edge of judgment. But Emily overheard the call, and to my surprise, she said, "I'll come. It's fine." So I said yes, and immediately regretted it. Sunday arrived like a storm I'd been tracking all week. I made my usual lemon chicken, Emily's favorite from years ago, back when she called it sunshine meat. I wasn't even sure if she still liked it, but I was grasping at small rituals. The table was set, candles lit, the good plates. I wore the necklace Emily had made me in 5th grade, tiny glass beads strung on fishing line, misshapen and precious. At noon, the doorbell rang, and the circus began. My mom came in first, arms full of pie, lips already pursed. "Oh, sweetheart, you look so thin," she said the moment she saw Emily. "Are you eating enough? You're not still doing that no-carb nonsense, are you?" Emily's face didn't move. "Hi, Nana." Then came Lauren, with her perfect hair and perfect husband, and her 2 children who still thought spelling tests were exciting. She looked Emily up and down, dyed hair, black jeans, a necklace with a tiny lock charm, and gave her a hug that was more pat than embrace. "I love this edgy phase," Lauren said brightly. "So punk rock. Just like Avril Lavigne." Emily blinked. "Who?" I nearly spit my wine. As the house filled, the air thickened. Conversations buzzed about soccer teams, vacation rentals, someone's new kitchen island. Every now and then, a stray comment would land near Emily like a dropped fork. "So what's with the nose ring? Do you have a boyfriend now? Or is it all about finding yourself? I just miss when you wore those little flower dresses. You were so cute." I watched Emily shrink, not visibly, but inward. Her shoulders pulled back, her jaw set. She fiddled with her fork in slow, steady circles, and I did something I'm not proud of. I didn't defend her. I smiled politely, redirected the conversation, laughed too loudly at Uncle Pete's golf joke, because a part of me, some outdated, approval-starved part, wanted to avoid the conflict, the discomfort, the confrontation. It wasn't until later, after the dishes were done and everyone had left, that I found her in the backyard, sitting on the steps, hoodie up, arms folded tight. I sat next to her, quiet. She didn't look at me. "You were right," she said flatly. "About what? They don't actually want to know me. They just want to remember me how I used to be." Her voice cracked on the last word, barely. I looked at her, really looked, and saw everything I'd missed earlier. The quiet way she'd excused herself from dessert, the way she stopped speaking when someone interrupted, the effort it had taken for her to even show up. "I'm sorry," I said softly, "for not saying something, for not standing up." She shrugged, but I saw her eyes shimmer in the porch light. "I just didn't want to make a scene," I added. "That's the thing, Mom," she said. "Being myself shouldn't be a scene." I closed my eyes. She was right. I had spent so long trying to ease her transition into the world, to smooth the friction, soften the sharp corners, that I hadn't realized I was sometimes the one sanding her down. Not on purpose, but still. "I don't want to be a project you manage," she said, quieter now. "I just want to be allowed." Those words stayed with me for days. That week, I found a box of old home videos while clearing out the closet. Tiny DVDs labeled in my handwriting: Emily, age 3, Park Day, Emily's first dance recital, Christmas 2012. I hadn't watched them in years. That night, after Emily went to her room, I stayed up and loaded one into the ancient DVD player we kept for no good reason. There she was, 3 years old, spinning in a princess dress, chocolate on her face, laughing uncontrollably. Her voice was higher, her limbs smaller, but the essence of her, the fire, the creativity, the boldness, it was all there. Even then, and suddenly, I saw the through line. The girl she was isn't gone. She's evolved. She's unfolding. The next day, I went into her room and knocked gently. She looked up from her desk. "What's up?" "I watched some of your old videos last night." Her eyebrows rose. "Oh God. Embarrassing?" "Adorable," I said. "And wild." "You've always been wild. In the best way." She smiled. "A real one. Slight, but warm." "I think I'm still figuring out how to be your mom," I admitted. "I think I'll always be figuring that out, but I want to do it better." She turned in her chair. "You don't have to be perfect." "I know, but I do want to be present." She nodded. "That's enough." Later that week, I got a text from Lauren. Aunt Carol said Emily seemed off. "Is she okay?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "She's better than okay. She's becoming exactly who she's supposed to be. No emoji, no softening, just the truth." And I sent it with a steadiness I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Emily still rolls her eyes when I ask about her playlists. She still borrows my sweaters without asking and leaves bowls in her room until things start to grow in them. But she's also started saying goodnight again. Not every night, but often enough. And yesterday, completely unprompted, she asked if I wanted to read one of her poems. It was handwritten on loose notebook paper, titled "The Space Between Who I Was and Who I Am," and at the bottom, a note scribbled in blue ink. "For my mom, thanks for staying in the space with me." It started with a text, a rare one, not a question, not a request for money or a ride. Just one sentence, no punctuation. "Can we go somewhere?" I was in the laundry room, folding a mountain of towels that never seemed to shrink, when the message buzzed in. I stared at it, surprised. I texted back, "Where to?" She replied, "Anywhere." 5 minutes later, we were in the car. No plan, no destination, no idea what we were driving toward. Just headlights carving through the quiet, both of us wrapped in a silence that felt new, not tense, not distant, but ready. "Gas station," I offered. "Snacks," she smiled. That's exactly what I was thinking. 15 minutes later, we were in the fluorescent glow of a 7-Eleven, standing in front of the refrigerated drinks. Emily grabbed a pink canned tea and studied the label like it held answers. "You know," I said, "when I was your age, I used to come to this exact place with my friends after school. We'd buy slushies and sit on the curb, pretending we didn't care about anything." She smirked. "Did you care?" "Of course. About everything, but pretending not to is half of being 15. She raised an eyebrow. "You get it more than I thought." I shrugged. "I've been 15. I've just forgotten some of it." She added a bag of sour gummies to the counter. "You should try harder to remember. It would help." It wasn't said with attitude. It was said with honesty. A gift, a small mirror. We paid, walked back to the car, and then, instead of going home, we drove. The windows were down. The night air was cool and full of early spring, the kind of breeze that makes you feel like something is about to begin. Emily turned the radio to a lo-fi station, soft beats pulsing through the speakers. "I thought I was having a panic attack again last week," she said suddenly. I kept my eyes on the road. What happened? I was in history class. We were talking about protest movements and global injustice, and it all just felt too big, like the world's already broken and I can't fix any of it. I nodded slowly. That's a hard feeling to carry. She unwrapped a piece of gum, chewed thoughtfully. I think that's why I keep changing my hair, or my clothes, or whatever. It's like, if I can control that, then I'm not just watching everything fall apart. I didn't speak right away. Then I said, "That's not shallow. That's strategy." She glanced at me. "You really think so?" "I think self-expression is survival, and I think you're braver than I was at your age." We drove in silence for a few more blocks. Then she asked, "What were you like when you were 15? I laughed. "A mess. I had one friend who convinced me to try purple lipstick, and another who taught me how to forge my mom's signature. I wrote angsty poems and swore I'd never become my parents." She smiled. "Did you?" "Only on Tuesdays and when I'm yelling about Wi-Fi." She laughed then. A real one, full-bodied, unguarded. God, how I'd missed that sound. We stopped at a park near the edge of town. It was empty, lit by 2 flickering lampposts. She climbed onto the swings, legs tucked under her like a kid again. I sat on the next swing over. Sometimes, she said softly, I miss being little. I didn't answer. I just let that hang in the air like a shared breath. She kept swinging, not high, just enough. I miss you reading to me, she added. I closed my eyes. I miss it too. More silence. Then she said something that cracked me open. I don't always know how to be around you. It's like I'm trying to be me, but I don't want to lose you in the process. I looked over at her, knees bent, hoodie half-zipped, grown and not grown all at once. You're not losing me, I said. You're just seeing me differently, and I'm learning to see you differently too. She nodded, bit her lip. Then, quietly, it's scary. I know. I want you to know me, even if I keep changing. I want to know you, I said, especially because you keep changing. She leaned her head against the swing's chain. Promise. Promise. We stayed at the park for another half hour, talking about nothing, talking about everything, favorite snacks, first crushes, how confusing it is to care so much and feel like the world keeps moving too fast to keep up. On the drive home, she dozed off with her feet on the dashboard and the radio low. I glanced over at her and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not because things were fixed, not because the road ahead was clear, but because I was finally with her on it, not chasing her, not trying to mold her, just walking beside her, headlights stretching forward, enough to see the next bend. That night, after she went upstairs, I stayed in the kitchen a while. I wrote something down, not for her, not for a therapist, just for me. She's not mine to keep. She's mine to accompany. And I finally understood the difference. Some stories don't end. They stretch. They reshape. They evolve the same way we do. One quiet moment at a time. Emily turned 16 last Friday. It was raining. Not a dramatic storm. Just a soft, steady drizzle that made the whole world look like it was being gently wiped clean. She didn't want a party. No balloons. No streamers. No overly curated photos for social media. Can we just do something small? She'd asked. Just us? Just us. 2 words I hadn't heard in what felt like years. I told her we could do anything she wanted. So we went to a bookstore downtown. It was one of those warm, mismatched places with creaky floors and a sleepy cat that moved between shelves like a ghost. The kind of shop where time feels irrelevant. We walked in, both of us a little damp from the rain, and she headed straight to the poetry section. She ran her fingers over the spines, chose 2 books, one Mary Oliver, one Ocean Vuong, and handed them to me like offerings. Your kind of stuff, she said. I smiled. And yours. She picked up a graphic novel, something moody and weird. She held it to her chest like it was a secret. I like pictures with feelings, she said. I nodded. Me too. We bought our books and walked across the street to the little cafe with the wobbly tables and mismatched mugs. She ordered matcha. I ordered coffee. We sat in the corner, just the 2 of us, rain misting against the window, and for a while, we didn't talk. We just read. Later, on the drive home, she turned to me. You've changed, she said. I glanced over. Yeah? Yeah, she said. Not in a bad way. Just, you don't try to fix me all the time anymore. I kept my hands on the wheel. I'm learning that's not my job. She laughed softly. It's weird, though. When you stopped trying to control everything, I actually started wanting to talk to you more. That's not weird, I said. That's called trust. Another pause. I trust you, she said quietly. Those 3 words landed in my chest like the first breath after surfacing from deep water. I didn't cry, not then, but I felt everything shift. That night, we made pasta together, her request, lemon pasta, the kind she used to call sunshine noodles. She chopped garlic. I boiled the water. Music played low from her playlist, which, to my surprise, now included some of my old favorites. A little Alanis, a little Tracy Chapman. She even hummed along. After dinner, we curled up on the couch. No TV, just her head on my shoulder and the cat somewhere at our feet. She showed me a poem she'd written. Not one for school, not one from therapy, just hers. It was about time. About how some things move fast and others move slow. about how mothers and daughters sometimes switch places without realizing it, and about how it's okay to grow without outgrowing. At the bottom of the page, she'd written one line in cursive: "Thanks for loving me before I loved myself." I didn't say anything. I just reached for her hand and held it. The next morning, I woke up early, before the sun. The house was quiet. I padded down the hallway, barefoot, coffee mug warm in my hands. Her door was cracked. Inside, I could see the glow of her salt lamp, her sneakers by the bed, her open notebook on the floor. I didn't go in. I stood there for a moment, listening to her breathing, slow, steady, and I thought, this is what letting go looks like. Not absence, not distance, just faith. Faith that she is becoming exactly who she's meant to be. Faith that I've done enough. Faith that even when she walks away, she'll still carry the sound of my voice in her memory, the soft, steady rhythm of home. I won't pretend I have it all figured out. There are still days she slams her door, still moments where I miss the child she used to be, still nights when I worry about the world she's stepping into and whether I've equipped her enough. But I've stopped trying to memorize her. I've started learning her, again and again, and she's teaching me, too, how to hold space, how to loosen my grip, how to love without condition or timeline. A few days after her birthday, I found a note tucked into my ceramics bag. It was written on a Post-it, like the ones she used to leave when she was little. It said, "You're not just my mom, you're my person." That's it. That's the story. Not a perfect ending, but a real one. A beginning inside an ending, and a promise that even through the growing, even through the changing, some things never leave. If you liked the story, let us know by leaving a like and your comment. And don't forget to subscribe to be part of this community of reflection and love. Thank you very much and see you next time.